The Ottoman Empire, one of the longest-lasting empires in history, owes much of its strength and expansion to the military prowess that it cultivated over centuries. At the heart of this formidable force were the Janissaries, an elite military corps that served as the backbone of the Ottoman army. The Janissaries weren't just soldiers. They were symbols of Ottoman power, discipline, and efficiency, and their establishment marked a pivotal moment in the Ottoman Empire's rise to greatness. The origins of the Janissary Corps can be traced back to the early 14th century, during the reign of Sultan Orhan I. As the Ottoman Empire was expanding from a small principality in Anatolia to a regional power, it became clear that a disciplined, professional army was essential for securing and expanding Ottoman territories. Orhan I, recognizing the need for a more reliable military force, implemented a new military system based on the devshirme, also known as the blood tax, or child levy. This policy involved the recruitment of young Christian boys from the Balkans who were taken from their families, converted to Islam, and trained to serve the Sultan. The devshirme system had profound effects on the Ottoman military structure. The boys selected for service were typically from rural Christian families, often from conquered territories in the Balkans. They were taken at a young age, between the ages of 8 and 18, and were brought to the heart of the Ottoman Empire. There, they underwent rigorous training in various military skills, discipline, and religious instruction. The primary purpose of the devshirme system was to create a loyal, well-trained, and well-disciplined corps of soldiers who would be devoted solely to the Sultan. These boys had no family ties, no tribal allegiances, and no other loyalty than to the Sultan and the Ottoman state. This system allowed the Ottomans to create a standing army that was loyal to the state rather than local lords or powerful families. This gave the empire a strategic advantage, as it ensured a more unified and centralized military force. The Janissaries were distinct from the rest of the Ottoman military, as they were the only professional soldiers in the empire. While many Ottoman soldiers were part of tribal militias or local forces, the Janissaries were trained for combat from a young age, and their loyalty to the Sultan made them a critical part of the empire's military success. Under the leadership of Sultan Murad I, R. 1362-1389, the Janissaries were formalized as an official military unit. They became the Sultan's elite force, and their primary role was to act as the Sultan's personal guard. They were trained in various forms of combat, including the use of swords, spears, and bows, but they were also equipped with firearms as gunpowder weapons became more advanced. The Janissaries were known for their precision and effectiveness in battle, making them an elite force within the Ottoman military. By the 15th century, the Janissaries were no longer just the Sultan's personal guard. They had become the backbone of the Ottoman army. During the reign of Sultan Mehmed II, the Janissaries played a pivotal role in the siege of Constantinople in 1453. The fall of Constantinople to the Ottomans marked the end of the Byzantine Empire and the beginning of the Ottoman Empire's dominance in the Eastern Mediterranean. The Janissaries' role in this victory solidified their place as the core of the Ottoman military machine. They fought bravely on the front lines, and their tactical expertise and discipline were critical in breaking down the defenses of the Byzantine capital. The Janissaries were highly skilled in siege warfare, which made them particularly effective during Ottoman campaigns to expand their territory. The Ottomans, under the command of their Janissary elite, conquered vast territories, including parts of North Africa, the Middle East, and Eastern Europe. The Janissaries' ability to adapt to new tactics, particularly their use of gunpowder weapons, was a major factor in the success of the Ottoman military. The Janissaries were the first standing army in Europe to use firearms effectively in battle, which gave them a technological advantage over many of their enemies. While the Janissaries were a military force of exceptional skill, they were also symbols of Ottoman unity and authority. The devshirme system ensured that the soldiers in the Janissary Corps had no competing loyalties. They were brought up in a system that emphasized loyalty to the Sultan and the state, making them incredibly reliable as the Ottoman military's elite force. The Janissaries were not only the personal guard of the Sultan, but also served as key figures in the political life of the empire. As the Ottoman Empire grew, the Janissaries gained increasing political power, sometimes even influencing imperial succession and policies. The Janissaries' role was not limited to just combat. Over time, they became involved in administrative and political duties as well. As the Ottoman Empire expanded, the Janissaries began to acquire land, wealth, and social status. Many Janissaries rose to high positions within the Ottoman government and were entrusted with key roles in governing provinces or commanding armies. Some even became advisors to the Sultan, shaping political decisions and military strategy. In the 16th century, the Janissaries had become so powerful that they were sometimes able to challenge the Sultan's authority. They had become an entrenched institution within the Ottoman Empire, with their own interests and political power. The Janissaries' growing influence would later contribute to their eventual decline, as they resisted military reforms and became more focused on political power than their original military purpose. However, at their height, the Janissaries were the epitome of Ottoman military excellence. They were feared and respected by enemies, and their loyalty to the Sultan was unparalleled. The Janissaries' combination of discipline, training, and strength helped the Ottoman Empire expand and hold on to its vast territories for centuries. They were integral to the success of the Ottoman military machine, which became one of the most powerful in the world during the 15th and 16th centuries. As the Ottoman Empire expanded and evolved, so did the Janissary Corps. By the late 15th and early 16th centuries, the Janissaries were no longer just elite soldiers, but also a central political and social force within the empire. Their influence and power grew, not only through their military successes, but also by controlling certain aspects of the empire's political structure. This shift from military excellence to political involvement, however, eventually led to the decline of the Janissary Corps. In the early years, the Janissaries were deeply committed to the Sultan and the Ottoman state, serving as the personal guard, elite fighting force, and enforcers of the Sultan's will. Their professional training and strong bond to the state gave them a distinct advantage in the battlefields of Europe, Asia, and North Africa. Their role in crucial victories, such as the Battle of Mohacs in 1526 and the Siege of Vienna in 1683, reinforced their reputation as the backbone of the Ottoman military. However, by the 17th century, the Janissaries began to change. The corps, that was once a force for discipline and military rigor, started to show signs of stagnation and corruption. One of the primary reasons for this change was the institutionalization of the Janissaries. What had once been a professional and highly disciplined military unit began to shift toward a hereditary structure. As the Janissaries gained more political influence, their members began to pass on positions within their families, which led to the dilution of their effectiveness. Over time, recruitment methods also changed. The Dev-Shirme system that had once been the cornerstone of the Janissary Corps was eventually replaced by the recruitment of volunteers, who were often less loyal and less rigorously trained. With the rise of military reforms in Europe, the Janissaries also resisted change, clinging to outdated methods of warfare and technology. While European armies began to adopt firearms, gunpowder artillery, and modern tactics, the Janissaries were reluctant to embrace these advancements, and their military strategies began to lose effectiveness. The Janissaries' increasing power in the political sphere also contributed to their decline. As the Ottoman Empire continued to expand, the military elite found themselves holding considerable influence in court politics. Over time, the Janissaries became more involved in political decision-making, sometimes even leading coups and influencing the selection of new sultans. Their political interference often created instability in the empire, undermining the authority of the sultan, and damaging the military's ability to operate cohesively. One of the most significant events that marked the decline of the Janissaries was the auspicious incident in 1826. Sultan Mahmud II, realizing that the Janissaries had become too powerful and resistant to necessary reforms, decided to dismantle the core. The Janissaries had grown increasingly rebellious and obstructive, opposing reforms to modernize the Ottoman military. They were no longer the disciplined force they had once been, and their political influence had become detrimental to the stability of the empire. In what is considered one of the most dramatic moments in Ottoman history, Sultan Mahmud II launched an attack on the Janissaries, resulting in a massacre of thousands of soldiers. The Janissaries who had resisted the Sultan's reforms were either killed or exiled, and the Janissary Corps was officially disbanded. This marked the end of an era for the Ottoman military, and the shift to a modernized, more European-style army began. With the Janissaries gone, Sultan Mahmud II instituted military reforms that incorporated European tactics, technologies, and organizational structures. The new army was more aligned with Western-style formations and equipment, including firearms, artillery, and other technological advancements. While these reforms were necessary for the survival of the Ottoman Empire in the face of European military dominance, they also represented a loss of the unique and powerful military institution that had been central to the empire's success for centuries. Despite their eventual downfall, the Janissaries left a lasting legacy on the Ottoman Empire and military history. The Devshirme system was groundbreaking, offering a steady supply of loyal soldiers and significantly altering the military landscape of the time. The Janissaries' discipline, tactical brilliance, and role in Ottoman conquests remain a defining feature of Ottoman military success. Furthermore, the Janissaries contributed to the development of Ottoman politics and society. As a powerful political force, they played an integral role in shaping the empire's leadership. Their influence, while detrimental in later years, helped to centralize the power of the Sultan and maintain unity within the empire for centuries. The legacy of the Janissaries can also be seen in how they shaped the future of military organizations around the world. The idea of an elite standing army, loyal to the state rather than to local powers, was revolutionary. Their training methods, their use of firearms in battle, and their disciplined tactics all influenced future military organizations. In conclusion, the Janissaries were more than just soldiers. They were the heart of the Ottoman Empire for hundreds of years. From their humble beginnings as a group of Christian boys trained in the service of the Sultan, they grew into one of the most formidable military forces in the world. They helped the Ottoman Empire expand its borders, maintain its power, and withstand internal challenges. However, over time, their rise to political power and their resistance to change led to their eventual downfall. The destruction of the Janissaries in 1826 marked the end of an era, but their legacy continued to shape the Ottoman military and the future of military organization for years to come.